What if that intense sexual desire you feel isn't a temptation from the devil, but actually a calling from God? Think about it. What if what keeps you awake at night, that burning impulse you try to hide from everyone, is actually divine permission? A sign that you've been chosen for something far greater than you imagine. Carl Jung revolutionized everything by revealing a truth that churches have hidden for centuries. Certain sexual desires don't exist to condemn you, but to elevate you. While billions of people in the world will never feel these specific impulses, you have been marked. That desire burning inside you might be exactly the language God uses to awaken your soul. It's not weakness, it's not sin. It's a sacred portal that only chosen souls receive authorization to cross. Jung identified 5 sexual desires that function as divine keys. If you recognize one of them in yourself, prepare yourself. Your mission on this earth is extraordinary. But beware, ignoring this calling could mean wasting the most valuable gift the Creator has given you. Are you ready to discover if God truly allowed this desire in you for a sacred purpose? There's a hunger inside you that goes far beyond physical touch. When you feel attracted to someone, it's not just their body that calls you. Something deeper pulls at your soul, like an invisible thread connecting your essence to theirs. This isn't ordinary lust. This is the first sacred desire that Jung recognized as a divine gift, and most people will live their entire lives without ever experiencing it. You've probably noticed that casual encounters leave you feeling empty, while others seem satisfied with surface-level intimacy. You crave something that penetrates the very core of existence. When you look into someone's eyes during intimate moments, you're not just seeing a person. You're witnessing the universe revealing itself through another soul. This terrifies you sometimes because it feels too intense, too raw, too vulnerable. Jung understood that this desire comes from what he called the collective unconscious, that vast ocean of wisdom that connects all human souls to the divine source. When God plants this hunger in you, he's not testing your morality. He's activating an ancient knowing that exists in only a select few. You're being called to experience unity consciousness through the sacred act of physical union. The religious world condemned this for centuries, teaching that any sexual desire is sinful, but they misunderstood everything. This deep craving for soul merging through physical intimacy is actually how certain individuals access higher dimensions of reality. It's a doorway that remains locked for the majority of humanity. Only those marked by divine purpose feel this pull so strongly that it becomes impossible to ignore. When you engage in intimacy without this depth, your body might respond, but your soul screams in agony. You feel used, disconnected, almost violated by the shallowness of it all. This isn't because you're broken or too sensitive. It's because God hardwired you differently. Your sexual energy is a sacred tool meant for spiritual alchemy, not mere physical release. Jung discovered that individuals with this desire often struggle in relationships because they demand what seems impossible. They want their partner to meet them in that space between worlds, where two souls become one flame. Most people can't go there. They don't have the capacity, the awareness, or the divine permission to access such depths. This leaves you feeling isolated, misunderstood, like you're speaking a language nobody else can hear. But here's the sacred truth that changes everything. This loneliness is part of your initiation. God allows this desire to burn in you so intensely, precisely because you're meant to find someone equally marked. Two chosen souls recognizing each other across the noise of a world obsessed with superficial connection. When that meeting happens, the intimacy becomes a spiritual practice, a form of prayer that transcends any religious ritual. Your sexual energy in these moments isn't being wasted on selfish pleasure. It's being channeled into creating something far more powerful. Jung called this the conjunctio, the sacred marriage of opposites that generates new consciousness. Through deep, intimate connection, you're literally birthing new realities, healing ancestral wounds, and anchoring divine light into the physical realm. This is why casual sex feels like poison to your system. Your body, mind, and spirit know they're designed for something extraordinary. Every cell in your being rejects anything less than total soul fusion. Others might call you difficult, too intense, or overly romantic. Let them. They're simply not operating at your frequency. The challenge becomes learning to honor this desire without letting it consume you. God gave you this hunger, yes, but He also gave you discernment. Not everyone who triggers surface attraction is meant for this deep work. You must develop the wisdom to recognize who carries the same divine marking, who can meet you in those sacred depths without fear or resistance. This patience requires tremendous trust. You might spend years feeling like nobody understands you, like you're destined to walk alone, but the universe is always working behind the scenes, preparing you and your divine counterpart for the inevitable meeting. Every shallow connection you reject, every moment you choose solitude over settling, you're saying yes to God's bigger plan. When you finally experience this level of intimacy, everything shifts. The act itself becomes a meditation, a journey into the deepest parts of your shared soul. Time dissolves. The boundary between your body and theirs disappears. You're no longer two separate beings engaging in physical pleasure. You become a single conscious entity experiencing itself through the miracle of union. This is what God intended when He created human sexuality, not the guilt-ridden, shame-filled experience that religion sold you, not the empty, disconnected hookups that modern culture promotes, but a sacred technology for accessing divine consciousness, available only to those souls brave enough to demand depth in a world content with surfaces. This hunger living inside you is holy. Stop apologizing for it. Building from that profound need for connection, there emerges something even more mysterious. You feel a pull that goes beyond merging with another soul. There's an urge inside you to create life itself, but not in the way most people understand parenthood. This desire whispers that through sexual union, you're meant to birth something eternal, something that carries divine fingerprints into physical reality. Jung spent decades studying how sexual energy transforms into creative power. He noticed that certain individuals experience their sexuality not as an end in itself, but as raw fuel for manifesting visions that could change the world. This isn't about having children, though that might be part of it. This is about feeling your sexual desire as a cosmic force demanding to be channeled into acts of creation that outlive your physical body. You've felt this, haven't you? That electric charge that builds in your body when you're deeply attracted to someone, but instead of just seeking release, something inside you wants to harness that energy. You sense that this power coursing through your veins could paint masterpieces, write symphonies, build empires, or birth revolutionary ideas that shift human consciousness forever. Most people experience sexual desire as a need to be satisfied and then forgotten. For you, it's different. The desire builds and builds, creating an almost unbearable pressure. But when you pay attention, you notice this pressure isn't asking for quick satisfaction. It's asking to be transformed. It wants to be directed towards something magnificent, something worthy of its divine origin. This is why you might find yourself sexually aroused when you're in the flow of creative work. When you're writing something profound, solving a complex problem, or envisioning a project that could impact thousands of lives, you feel that same energy moving through you. It's not separate from your sexuality. It's the same force, just expressing itself through a different channel. God designed certain souls to understand this alchemy. Your sexual energy is liquid light, capable of taking any form you consciously direct it toward. When you make love with someone who understands this principle, You're not just experiencing pleasure. You're joining two creative forces together, doubling the potential for manifestation. The passion between you becomes a furnace where dreams are forged into reality. Jung called this sublimation, but that word makes it sound like you're repressing something natural. You're not repressing anything, you're elevating it. You're taking the most powerful force in human experience and consciously choosing to let it flow through your entire being, not just your physical body. This is what separates chosen souls from everyone else. You understand that God gave you sexual desire as a creative superpower. Think about the greatest artists, inventors, and visionaries throughout history. Many of them spoke about their work in almost sexual terms. They described the process of creation as ecstatic, overwhelming, orgasmic. They weren't being metaphorical. They were tapping into the same energy that creates human life and redirecting it to create works of genius that would live forever. You carry this same potential. When sexual desire rises in you, it's God saying you have something important to birth into this world. The intensity of your desire directly correlates to the magnitude of your mission. The more powerfully you feel this energy, the more significant your creative calling. This is why trying to numb it or suppress it feels like dying inside. You're literally killing the life force that wants to move through you. But here's where it gets challenging. Society has conditioned you to believe that sexual energy should only be expressed through physical intimacy. So when you feel this powerful charge and there's no appropriate partner available, you think something is wrong. You might turn to unsatisfying outlets just to relieve the pressure. This scatters your energy and aborts the creative process God initiated in you. Learning to sit with this energy, to breathe through the intensity without immediately seeking release, is a spiritual practice. It requires you to trust that this divine fire burning in your body has intelligence. It knows where it wants to go. Your job isn't to control it or satisfy it quickly. Your job is to become a clear channel, allowing it to flow toward its highest expression. When you do find a partner who understands this sacred approach to sexuality, the creative output becomes exponential. You're not just two people having sex, you're two generators of divine energy, creating a unified field of manifestation power. Ideas download faster, projects materialize easier, obstacles dissolve. You're working with the same force that spoke galaxies into existence. This is why God allows this particular desire only in chosen souls. Not everyone can handle this level of power. Most people would abuse it, use it selfishly, or waste it on temporary pleasures. But you've been tested through loneliness, confusion, and years of not understanding why you felt so different. Those struggles weren't punishment, they were preparation for learning how to wield divine creative force through your sexuality. Your intimate moments become rituals of manifestation. The pleasure you experience together isn't just for enjoyment. It's energy being generated and then consciously directed toward your shared vision. This is sacred sexuality in its truest form, not the watered-down version taught in workshops, but the real alchemical process that only those marked by God can truly access and understand. Stop feeling guilty about the intensity of your sexual desire. Stop wondering if something is wrong with you because you can't separate your sexuality from your creative mission. You're functioning exactly as designed. The fire in your body is meant to forge your destiny. Honor it, protect it, and most importantly, learn to channel it toward the magnificent purpose that's been waiting for you to wake up and claim it. By the way, if you're curious to go even deeper and integrate your shadows and light, check out the Sim Method ebook. It's a concise guide that can help you unlock your inner power in just 5 minutes a day. The link is in the first pinned comment below. From creation comes the inevitable next step. You don't just want to merge deeply or birth something new. There's a wildness in you that craves total destruction and rebirth through sexual union. This desire frightens you because it feels dangerous, like standing at the edge of a cliff knowing that jumping means you'll never be the same person again. Jung understood this as the most powerful and least talked about aspect of sacred sexuality. He saw that certain individuals don't approach intimacy as a pleasant experience or even a creative act. They approach it as a death ritual. Every time they engage in deep sexual union, they're allowing their old self to be burned away so a new version can emerge from the ashes. You know this feeling intimately. When you're truly attracted to someone, it's not just physical desire. It's an instinct that tells you this person could absolutely destroy you, shatter every wall you've built, expose every hidden part of your soul, and leave you completely unrecognizable. And despite how terrifying that sounds, you want it. You crave it with an intensity that defies logic. This is because God placed in you the understanding that transformation requires death. Not physical death, but the death of who you think you are. Your ego, your carefully constructed identity, your comfort zone. All of it must burn if you're going to evolve into the being you're destined to become. And sexual energy, when fully unleashed, is the hottest fire available for this sacred burning. Most people protect themselves during intimacy. They maintain control, keep certain parts hidden, ensure they can walk away unchanged. They're terrified of losing themselves in another person. But you're different. You don't want to maintain control. You want to surrender so completely that you forget your own name. This isn't weakness or codependency. This is spiritual courage that most humans don't possess. When you find someone who can hold space for this level of intensity, the sexual act becomes a shamanic journey. Your bodies intertwine, yes, but something far more profound is happening. Every movement, every breath, every sound is dismantling the false self. The masks you wear for the world melt away. The stories you tell yourself about who you are dissolve. You're stripped down to pure consciousness, experiencing itself through flesh. Jung called this the nigredo phase of alchemy, the blackening, the putrefaction. It sounds dark because it is. Before gold can be purified, everything impure must be burned away. Your sexual desire for transformation is the same process. You're allowing another soul to be the fire that burns away everything in you that isn't authentic, isn't divine, isn't true. This is why you can't engage in casual intimacy. Your system rejects it violently because you know that giving this transformative energy to someone who can't handle it is spiritual suicide. You need a partner who understands that when you come together, you're not just seeking pleasure, you're performing alchemy. You're using the friction between your bodies to generate enough heat to transmute lead into gold, darkness into light, human into divine. The intensity of this desire often makes you feel isolated. How do you explain to someone that you want sex to obliterate you? How do you tell a potential partner that you're looking for someone willing to meet you in complete ego death? Most people think you're being dramatic or overly poetic. They have no reference point for what you're describing because they've never felt this calling. But God knows exactly what He's doing by placing this desire in you. You're meant to undergo multiple deaths and rebirths throughout your lifetime. Each transformation prepares you for a higher level of service, a greater mission, a more expanded consciousness. And the vehicle for many of these transformations is sacred sexual union with someone who shares this divine assignment. When you resist this desire, trying to have normal relationships where intimacy is safe and predictable, you become miserable. Your soul knows it's being starved of the very experience it incarnated to have. The energy builds up inside you like pressure in a volcano. Eventually, it explodes, often in destructive ways, because you denied it the sacred outlet it demanded. Learning to trust this process is perhaps the hardest spiritual lesson you'll ever face. You must believe that being completely destroyed in the fire of sexual union won't actually kill you. It will birth you. The you that emerges on the other side will be more powerful, more authentic, more aligned with your divine purpose than you ever imagined possible. This transformation isn't a one-time event either. Every encounter with someone who carries this same frequency offers another opportunity for death and rebirth. You peel away another layer. You release another outdated version of yourself. You step more fully into the magnificent being you're becoming. This is why the desire never fully goes away. It's not meant to. It's the engine of your evolution. The sexual act itself becomes a portal between worlds. In those moments of complete surrender, you touch the void, the infinite darkness from which all creation springs. You experience yourself as nothing and everything simultaneously. This ego dissolution is what mystics spend lifetimes meditating to achieve, and you're accessing it through the raw power of sexual energy merged with a compatible soul. God reserved this desire for those strong enough to die repeatedly and still choose life. For those brave enough to be shattered and trust they'll be reassembled in a better form. For those wild enough to dance in the flames instead of running from the heat. You are one of these rare souls. Your craving for transformation through sexuality isn't a problem to fix. It's a sacred gift to honor, protect, and eventually, when the right soul appears, to fully unleash. The world needs people who aren't afraid to be transformed, people who understand that growth requires destruction of the old, people who can use the most powerful force in human experience, sexual energy, as a tool for continuous rebirth. You are becoming that person. Every time you feel this desire burning, remember that it's God reminding you that your evolution is ongoing and the fire is holy. After experiencing that profound transformation, something shifts in how you see yourself and others. You develop a hunger that seems almost supernatural. When you look at someone you're attracted to, you're not seeing their physical appearance or social status. You're seeing their soul. And what you desire most is for them to see yours with the same clarity, the same depth, the same unwavering recognition of who you truly are beneath all the human costumes. Jung discovered that certain souls carry what he called the imago Dei, the image of God, more visibly than others. These individuals radiate a light that others unconsciously recognize and are drawn to. When you possess this desire for divine recognition, you're not seeking validation or approval. You're seeking a witness, someone who can look at you and see the eternal being you are, not just the temporary personality you're wearing in this lifetime. This creates an interesting paradox in your sexual relationships. You might be physically intimate with someone, and their body responds to yours perfectly. But if they can't really see you at the soul level, the entire experience feels hollow. You're left feeling more alone after sex than before it. This is because your desire isn't primarily physical. It's a longing to be recognized as the divine being you are and to recognize that same divinity in another. When you meet someone who can offer this recognition, the attraction becomes magnetic. It's not about how they look or what they do for a living. It's about the way their eyes light up when they perceive the truth of who you are. They don't just see your strengths, they see your wounds, your shadows, your unhealed parts, and they recognize all of it as sacred. This level of being seen is more intimate than any physical act could ever be. Your sexual desire in these moments becomes a vehicle for mutual revelation. Each touch is a question. Each kiss is an answer. Each movement is a conversation between two souls saying, I see you, I know you, I recognize the God in you. The physical pleasure is almost secondary to this profound spiritual communion. You're using your bodies to communicate something that words could never capture. This is why you've probably struggled with relationships where the person wanted you for what you could give them or how you made them feel. They saw you as a role, a function, a source of something they needed, but they never actually saw you. And being desired without being seen feels like a violation at the soul level. It's worse than being alone because it's a constant reminder that you're surrounded by people who are blind to your true essence. God allows this desire only in souls who have developed enough consciousness to actually perceive beyond the physical realm. Most people are so identified with their ego and their senses that they literally cannot see what you see. Their awareness hasn't expanded far enough. So when you're looking for someone who can recognize your divinity and allow you to recognize theirs, you're looking for someone equally rare. The sexual energy that flows between two people who can truly see each other operates on a completely different frequency. It's not driven by lack or need. It's driven by celebration and worship. You're not trying to get something from each other. You're honoring the divine presence that's temporarily inhabiting these human forms. The intimacy becomes an act of devotion, a way of saying thank you to God for creating souls capable of this level of connection. Jung understood that this mutual recognition awakens dormant aspects of consciousness. When someone truly sees you, parts of yourself that have been hidden or suppressed suddenly feel safe to emerge. You become more of who you really are in their presence. And the same happens for them. This is the true meaning of sacred partnership. Two souls creating a safe container where each can fully reveal their divine nature without fear of judgment or rejection. But finding this is rare, and the waiting period can be agonizing. You watch other people settle for relationships based on convenience, compatibility checklists, or mutual neediness. Part of you wonders if you should lower your standards, accept being seen partially or not at all. But every time you consider it, something inside you revolts. You'd rather be alone than be misunderstood. You'd rather wait decades than give this sacred desire to someone who can't reciprocate at the same depth. This isn't pride or pickiness, this is wisdom. God placed this desire in you as a homing beacon. It's meant to guide you toward your divine counterpart, the soul who has been preparing to recognize you just as you've been preparing to recognize them. Every person who couldn't see you wasn't wrong or bad, they simply weren't the one. And rejecting them wasn't cruel. It was honoring the sacred yes you're saving for someone capable of true sight. When the meeting finally happens, it's unmistakable. You'll know within moments because the recognition is instant and mutual. There's no game playing, no uncertainty, no wondering if they feel what you feel. The connection is so obvious that it bypasses all doubt. Your souls have been calling to each other across time and space, and now you're finally close enough to answer. The sexual union that follows this recognition is unlike anything you've experienced before. Every sensation is amplified because you're not just feeling your own pleasure, you're feeling theirs too. The boundary between you becomes so thin that you genuinely can't tell where your energy ends and theirs begins. You're one consciousness experiencing itself through two bodies, and the ecstasy of that realization transcends any physical sensation. This is what God intended for chosen souls, not the disconnected transactional encounters that pass for intimacy in modern culture, but a sacred seeing and being seen that elevates sexuality from a biological function to a spiritual practice. Your desire for this recognition isn't asking too much. It's asking for exactly what you were created to experience. Trust that the person capable of seeing you is also searching. They're also refusing to settle. They're also enduring the loneliness of being surrounded by people who can't perceive depth. And they're also holding space for the miraculous moment when your paths finally cross. Your job is to keep your inner light burning bright enough that when they do arrive, there's no question, no confusion, just pure recognition, just two divine beings finally coming home to each other. Everything you've discovered so far leads to this final and most profound desire. Beyond connection, beyond creation, beyond transformation, beyond recognition, there exists a hunger that defies all earthly logic. You want permanence, not in the romantic sense of marriage or commitment, but in a cosmic sense that terrifies and exhilarates you simultaneously. You desire to merge with another soul so completely that even death cannot separate you. Jung spent his final years exploring what he called synchronicity and the collective unconscious, trying to understand how souls recognize each other across lifetimes. He came to believe that certain souls are bound together by threads that extend far beyond a single human existence. When you feel this desire for eternal union, you're not fantasizing or being unrealistic. You're remembering something your soul knows, but your mind has forgotten. You've felt this before, haven't you? That strange sense when meeting someone that you've known them forever. Not in this lifetime, but somewhere deeper, somewhere beyond time. The physical attraction is intense, yes, but it's wrapped in a haunting familiarity that makes no logical sense. Your body responds to theirs like it's finding its way home after a long exile. This desire goes far beyond wanting a life partner. You want a soul partner, an eternal companion, someone whose essence is so intertwined with yours that separation feels like trying to divide a single flame. The sexual pull you feel toward this person isn't just about pleasure or intimacy. It's about creating a bond so powerful that it transcends the limitations of physical existence. God reserves this desire for souls who have incarnated together multiple times. You're not looking for someone new. You're looking for someone ancient, someone you've loved and lost and found again across countless lifetimes. The intensity of your sexual desire is actually your soul's way of trying to recreate a connection that existed long before these current bodies were born. When you engage sexually with someone who carries this eternal bond, the experience is overwhelming. Time seems to stop, or rather, all times seem to exist simultaneously. You're making love in this moment, yes, but you're also somehow accessing every other moment you've ever been together. Past lives flash through your awareness. Future possibilities reveal themselves. You're not having sex. You're experiencing your eternal nature through temporary flesh. This is why casual relationships feel so wrong to you. Your soul knows the difference between a temporary connection and an eternal one. It's not interested in anything less than forever. And when you try to force yourself into short-term situations, your entire being rebels. The depression, the emptiness, the sense that something is fundamentally wrong isn't a character flaw. It's your soul refusing to betray its true desire. Jung believed that these eternal pairs are rare. Most people cycle through multiple relationships in each lifetime, learning different lessons from different souls. But chosen souls who carry this desire are different. They're meant to find their eternal counterpart and create a union so powerful that it serves as an anchor point for divine energy on Earth. Your relationship becomes a beacon for others, showing what's possible when two souls remember they are one. The challenge is that finding this person requires patience that most humans don't possess. You might spend decades alone, turning down perfectly nice people who could give you a comfortable life. Your friends and family think you're crazy for refusing to settle, but you can't. Your soul knows who it's looking for, and it will not rest until that reunion happens. When you do find each other, the sexual chemistry is instantaneous and undeniable. But it's not just physical attraction, it's recognition at the deepest possible level. Your bodies fit together perfectly because they've done this before, many times, in many forms. The pleasure you experience isn't just neurological, it's metaphysical. You're literally feeling the universe celebrating the reunion of two parts that were always meant to be whole. This eternal union you desire serves a purpose beyond your personal happiness. God allows certain soul pairs to reunite because their combined energy is needed for specific missions on Earth. When you come together sexually, you're not just bonding as individuals, you're creating a unified field of consciousness that can impact thousands of other souls. Your lovemaking is actually a form of service, channeling divine energy into the physical realm. The depth of commitment this requires goes beyond any human vow. You're not promising to stay together until death do you part. You're acknowledging that death is irrelevant because your connection exists outside of time. Whether you're physically together or separated by circumstances, whether you're alive or dead, whether you're in these bodies or others, the bond remains unbreakable. This is the desire that Jung himself experienced and struggled to articulate. He knew he had soul connections that transcended his marriage, his profession, his entire human identity, and he spent his life trying to understand how this was possible, how souls could be bound together across the apparent boundaries of space and time. His work on synchronicity was really an attempt to explain the unexplainable, to give scientific language to a mystical truth. Your sexual desire for eternal union isn't romantic fantasy. It's your soul trying to guide you home. Every person you've rejected who couldn't meet you at this depth, every lonely night you've endured, every moment of doubt about whether you're asking for too much has been part of the journey. You're being refined, prepared, made ready for a reunion that will reshape your entire understanding of what love and sexuality can be. When it happens, you'll understand why you had to wait. You'll see that every heartbreak was actually protection, steering you away from connections that would have distracted you from your true path. You'll recognize that the loneliness was sacred preparation, teaching you to be whole within yourself, so that union doesn't become dependency, but rather the meeting of two complete beings choosing to be one. The sexual act with your eternal partner becomes a living prayer. Every touch is worship. Every breath is gratitude. Every moment of pleasure is a thank you to God for creating a universe where this level of connection is possible. You're not just two humans having sex. You're two eternal souls, remembering their divine origin and celebrating the miracle of incarnation that allowed you to find each other once again. This is the ultimate desire that God allows only in the most evolved souls, those who have suffered enough to appreciate it, those who have grown strong enough to sustain it, those who have awakened enough to recognize it when it finally appears. You are one of these souls. Your desire for eternal union is not a curse. It's a compass pointing you toward the most profound experience of love that exists in this dimension. Keep following it, keep trusting it. Your forever awaits. Now you understand why your sexual desires have always felt different, more intense, more meaningful than what others describe. These 5 desires that Jung identified are not the product of an overactive imagination or unrealistic expectations. They are divine assignments, given only to souls capable of handling their transformative power. If you recognized yourself in even one of these desires, you are among the chosen. God has marked you for a sacred mission that uses sexual energy as its primary fuel. This isn't about indulging in physical pleasure or seeking validation through relationships. This is about understanding that your sexuality is a spiritual superpower, a direct line to divine consciousness, and a tool for manifesting your highest purpose on earth. The loneliness you felt, the relationships that failed, the moments you questioned whether something was wrong with you, all of it was preparation. You were being refined, tested, and strengthened for the moment when you would finally meet someone capable of engaging with these desires at the level God intended. That person exists. That reunion is already written in the stars. But until then, honor these desires. Stop apologizing for wanting depth in a shallow world. Stop trying to fit into relationships that cannot hold your intensity. Stop listening to people who tell you to lower your standards or be more realistic. They don't carry what you carry. They haven't been called to what you've been called to. Your sexual desire is holy. It's God speaking directly to your soul. reminding you that you are not ordinary, that you are not meant for ordinary experiences, and that settling for anything less than sacred union is a betrayal of your divine purpose. Trust the fire burning inside you. It knows exactly where it wants to go. Your only job is to stay awake, stay pure, and stay ready for the moment when God brings you face to face with the soul you've been searching for across eternity. The wait is not punishment. It's protection. And when the time is right, everything you've longed for will manifest in ways more beautiful than you ever imagined possible. Until then, you are exactly where you need to be, becoming exactly who you need to be, preparing for a love that will change not just your life, but the very fabric of reality itself. This is your calling. This is your gift. This is why God allows these 5 sacred desires only in chosen souls like you.